So hello everyone, we are here with Joussef from Venezuela. Thanks so much for joining us, Joussef.
Hey, John, thank you so much for inviting me and talk about my experience with CAP and also at FIU.
Great, awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. You've had done a lot of things, accomplished a lot of things, so I'm sure you're gonna have a really good story to tell. But why don't you just start just by introducing yourself, whatever you'd like to say, what your major is, what your goals are, anything you'd like to say about yourself.
Sure. So I'm originally from Venezuela and I'm currently studying at FIU. I'm going to go into my junior year right now in fall 2020. And my major is computer engineering. So about my goals, I have like kind of like medium term goals and long term goals. So my medium term goals are once I graduate is to work as either a computer as a software engineer or a hardware engineer, or maybe both, like full stack computer engineer. And my long term goals are to go into entrepreneurship and business. But since I decided to study computer engineering because since I really love computers and technology, I decided to go this path and like gain experience in the field for like 5 to 10 years, and then go ahead and build my own business.
Great. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And it's great that you've got the long-term, the mid-term goals. And I know around the computer engineering and the entrepreneurship, you're already getting involved with things on campus. And I want you to share a little bit about that. But before we get there, let's back up a little bit to like when you were first arriving at FIU and maybe a little bit into your first semester. Just, people do this all the time. How were you feeling at the time? What was your experience like? How confident were you in the future and what you were going to be able to do?
Well, I knew like from the very beginning that getting experience was going to be hard, and also landing a job or an internship was also going to be even harder because for international students, I wouldn't say it's like 100%. It's a lot harder than as an American or a resident, but it's a different process, and it's because we have to go all the way like through curriculum practicum training, and then the optional practicum training, which is the CPT and the OPT. And employers tend to have like different looks when it comes to CPT and OPT. So that's why you have to really stand out from the crowd, and also like even more at FIU, because FIU is a school that has around 54,000 students. So you really need to stand out in it, like in that crowd.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, so I know it was going to be hard, but one thing that I got in mind is that, okay, so I want to get experience. So what's the best way to get experience? Well, learn how to get that experience. And during when I got at FIU, during my orientation week, one of the different events that I went through with Global First Year was the introduction to the Career Accelerator program. So that's where I met you. I really liked the presentation that you gave us, and you talked a little bit about the first two courses that were the mindset course and the uniqueness course. And I really got interested, and I thought that was going to be the best opportunity for me to get like experience for job applications and what to tell employers and all that stuff.
Sure. God, yeah, thanks for sharing. And you're right. It is hard for everyone, and international students have a little bit of a different, maybe even a little bit more challenging process than domestic students. You've overcome all of those challenges, and you mentioned you heard about the Career Accelerator right in orientation, decided to join. But I'm curious, what was it that really kind of drew your interest? Why did you decide to participate in the first place?
Okay, so I remember that when you gave that presentation, you talked a little bit about the mindset course. That was actually the first course that I went through in the Career Accelerator program. It has a lot to do with critical thinking and how uh, the human mind is able to change itself. Uh, a little bit about neuroplasticity, and you talk about that during your first presentation. I really like it. I was intrigued about it, so that's why I decided to join. Also, after that, uh, you talk a little bit about the uniqueness course and to exploit, let's say, our core values and how we could talk about our core values during interviews with companies, jobs, even on campus. Because I remember that for my first internship, so I interned for to get a little bit of context. I interned during like 3 months at Startup FIU, which is the entrepreneurship and innovation initiative on campus. Because as I said, like one of my term goals is to be an entrepreneur, and I wanted to learn a little bit about that. And I remember that during my interview, I talk about my core values that I learned during the uniqueness course. I was going through the uniqueness course by the time that I applied for that internship. And then at my third semester, when I applied for the job that I'm currently in at the office of the provost, I also talk about my core values. And I believe that was one of the key things that got me the job.
Got it. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing. And that's really a great story how, like you said earlier, it was hard coming in, and you were curious about the mindset course, and you mentioned critical thinking, and that's a great point. Whenever, coming in, maybe you saw getting that position is really difficult, and then mindset helped you see, hey, maybe it is difficult, maybe I can still achieve it. And then using everything you learned in the uniqueness course to help you get a couple of those internships that you've had. So tell us a little bit about what you've done in those internships, some things you've accomplished, and maybe some other results you think you've achieved as a result of your participation in CAP.
Sure. So my first internship was at Startup FIU, as I said. There, I was part of the youth entrepreneurship program, where the university received a grant to teach entrepreneurship to some public schools in the Miami-Dade County. So I was tasked with creating presentations for our teachers to go to different schools in Miami to teach entrepreneurship. So I learned a lot about like how to create a business model, how to choose a business model, sorry, how to spend money depending on your product in a business organization or marketing. It's a lot of business stuff that was outside of my field of study, which is engineering, but I really like it because um, those are two things that I really like. I just ended up choosing engineering as a major because I love science, I love math, and I love programming. But I also got, thanks to my experience at CAP, I also got my job at the office of the provost, where I work as an office assistant, and I get to um, work with faculty, get documents that are needed for signature from either the provost or the vice president of academic and student affairs. Our office is really deeply related with the office of the president when it comes to events and all that, and everything related to that. And I also help in those events either as protocol or setting up everything. And about my experience in the Career Accelerator program, I would say like the most meaningful, at least for me, has been the uniqueness course, because I learned about my core values and how I could talk about them in a job interview, and also the leadership course, because I've always wanted to be a leader, but I thought that I was lacking something. And thanks to the leadership course, which is the very last course of the Career Accelerator program, I learned that one of the most important factors of leadership is actually communication. And if you go into CAPS, you're gonna learn a little bit about that. Um, and during so basically in that course, what you do is you decide on a project and you get to communicate with people, so you can get people into that project and help you into that project by establishing like goals between like related goals between you and the people that you're getting in for your project. And for my project, I decided to join Upsilon Pi Epsilon, which is the largest tech organization on campus. And they have a program called SparkDev, which is a 9-week program where students get to work on computer science related projects such as artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, also web development, mobile development, and many others. And my project was I entered the program as an associate director. So I decided to take leadership in one of the events that SparkDev had, because they were getting a partnership with the Honors College at FIU. So Honors College wanted to promote SparkDev to their students. So my project was to like assemble a team to give a presentation about artificial intelligence, which is one of the hot topics right now in the tech world. And I got with the leader of the artificial intelligence team to give the presentation. We talk about neural networks, and we try to explain what a neural network was as simplified as possible. We use example of bunnies and how we give like different like bunnies have like their 5 senses and they have receptors, and it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed my time like building up everything like from ground to to the top, that presentation, and getting all the people to help me with that.
Got it. Yeah, that's a great story as well. How, not only, discovering a little bit about yourself early on in the Career Accelerator helped you get a couple of positions early on, and then the leadership course helped you leverage, your position as the associate director to inspire more people to participate in this event, and you improved your communication skills. So yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. And I guess I just have one more question for you.
Sure.
For a student, put yourself in the shoes of a student who might come to the Career Accelerator workshop at orientation and hear about it and have a goal, but they're not sure if they're want to participate, want to commit the time to do it. What would you have to say to that student?
Well, first of all, as soon as you go into university, uh, first thing you have to do is get experience. Get experience on campus, then with the experience on campus, you get experience off campus in your internships and your jobs once you graduate. But that's key. Like from day one, you have to start getting experience, because I've made friends in the university who have not get experience from like the first day, and when they're into their junior year or their senior year, when they start to apply for internships or jobs after graduation, they struggle because first, um, they don't approach employers the same way as people like from the CAP course do, because all of these are set of skills that will help you in the future for like when you're applying for a job or an internship. And I've also seen friends who have tried at not like, let's not put the example of an internship, but a job on campus, which would be much easier. And it's not easy at all, because I remember when I applied for jobs, um, I I submitted like, no kidding, like 17 or 18 applications, and I got called like by two. So it's really hard. But if you commit the time and you're a dedicated person, uh, you'll succeed. And CAP is really good because it'll give you, as I said, all those set of skills to make the process easier.
Great. Yeah, and great point about putting some work into it, committing a little bit of time, and then getting something out of it. Yusuf, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. We really appreciate your time, and I
No,
hope
thank you.
that there's.
Anytime.
All right. Oh, great, great. Thank you so much. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up, but thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.